Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News, and I'm very pleased to have with me today Nick Foy of Silverdale. Nick, thank you for joining me today.
Hey Doug, great to be here.
Well, the big message of this podcast is stop. Stop wasting your money. If you're in a project, if you're working on something, if you're doing something that's maybe even what at the core of your business, whatever you're doing, if you think that maybe you're wasting money, if you're not getting anywhere, maybe you should just stop and look around for a second. And maybe there's an alternative path. That's the big message. We're going to get into it in just a minute. But Nick, what is Silverdale?
So Silverdale, we're the Odoo consulting company. So we're a business process and ERP implementation and support business. So we help businesses of all sizes to implement and get the most from their ERP systems on on a day-to-day basis.
All right, so let's start with some terms. What is ERP?
ERP, great question. So first of all, the only people that talk about ERP are the people who are in the ERP industry, okay? Most people refer to it as the bloody system, or the damn thing's slow again, or how do I make it do the thing I want it to do? But it's the system, it's the computer system that you use to manage your business, okay? And depending on which ERP you're using, or which of the ERPs you're using, will determine, how much of one thing you're actually making the most of.
So I take it, based on what we were talking about just before we started our podcast, that some companies can literally be strangled by their very own system that they depend on.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's easy to get yourself painted into a corner with these types of systems, simply because they're very complicated, right? And they're very difficult projects to actually do and to get right. And plus, they are living, breathing systems. It's not like implementing, Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel, right? These are living, breathing systems that need to change and morph and grow as your business does the same, right? And people don't kind of realize that this is not a one and done exercise. So don't be surprised if the system which you put in 5 years ago now isn't really the system that you need today, right? Unless you are constantly maintaining it and adjusting it and having it becoming a really core part of your business, then it's very, very easy to find yourself strangled, and struggling, right, to get the system to do what you need it to do.
And that is common, I take it. I have a feeling that it might be more common than we think.
Oh, without a doubt. You know it, right? You know the companies that you call where someone says, "Oh, my system's running slow today. Bear with me just a second." Or I need to log into the other system to go get that information from you. Or let me pass that call on to someone else, and then they have no idea what the hell you're talking about, right? I don't have access to that. Or the companies that you call that have that kind of situation going on. And then the other flip side is, the companies that you call that have got their act together, because they're the people that have everything at their fingertips. I can see your order, I can see your delivery status, I can see your next order, I can see the call you've got arranged with the engineer for installation, I can see the parts that are on order for you, and I can see the date those parts are due to come into our warehouse, and I can see that the engineer's been allocated to your job right now. Again, the companies have got their act together on that when they can give you those kind of answers, as opposed to, I have to log into 5 different systems to go do this, right? And, I would argue that most companies want to be, the former of those two, right? If you think about it, the companies you interact with, which one do you want to be more like?
Now, I have a feeling we get here. There's a natural way that we get to the place you just described. It sounds like a lot of people have kit bashed systems. In other words, over time, they bought this or that, and then they bought this or that to fix this or that, and added things, and the company bought another company, so those systems were put together. Yeah. There was never really somebody who said, let's rethink all this at once.
Yeah, and and that's really common, right? And I would say it's not even a case of legacy systems, right, from companies that have been around for years and years. and have kind of got to where they've got to, as you say, through acquisition or M&A or whatever it might be. Of course, those exist, and we deal with a lot of those. But you know something, it's also a young company phenomenon as well, right? Because there's so many different things you can sign up to online. It's so easy to do it. Where you just sign up for a subscription with this and a subscription with that. And this is only another $20 a month. That's $30 a month. And this is this a month. And suddenly you find yourself, well, if you tell me you've got 10 different systems in your company, and I know you've probably got 3 times that you're not even aware of, some of them, right? That some of your teams have signed up to that you don't even know about. It's really, really easy. And I would say probably more of an issue today, actually, than in the past, because people think that they need the best in breed email marketing, the best in breed CRM, the best in breed manufacturing system, the best in breed inventory management, the best in breed on their e-commerce, right? But the problem with those best in breed systems is they're best in breed because they do one thing, right? And they do that one thing really, really well. And they give you lots of bells and whistles and lots of different ways of doing things. The problem is they only do one thing. And then you're the one who's trying to pull all this together in the background, right? By exporting CSV files here and importing it there to make sure the data is kept in sync. And you spend all your time, as a chicken wrangler, right, trying to get your data in the right place in the right order, and wondering why things don't talk to each other. And that's a very, very common situation. And it doesn't matter where you are on the maturity cycle as a company. We see this all over the place.
So, I think we've stumbled right into the next big topic here, which is, but I've invested a lot of money. Why don't I just throw some more money at it?
Yeah, well, throwing more money at a problem has never solved the problem, right? And I know it's tough, and I've been there myself. That you're already heavily invested, and we've had clients who have come to us who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, on getting nothing. Okay, and they call us and say, look, we're really stuck. We've spent our budget and more, and we're still not live yet. Or we've only got one thing or one department, or we've got one module up and running. And we've got to get this thing over the line. I've got a commitment to my board or to my investors or whoever it might be, and we're in a really tough spot. And those are difficult conversations for us to have, because normally we start off with doing an audit. It's one of the things that we do really well, and is often our starting point for almost every project, and certainly every new client we take on. And one of the results of that audit may well be that, hey, we need to start again, right? You're so far down a road here, we can't get you back. We're going to have to start this whole thing again. And that's a tough conversation to have. However, I would say for a lot of our clients who have gone down that route and we've had to bring them back on track, the reality is that we only do fixed price, fixed timeline projects as a company, and that's one of the reasons for it. We don't bill by the hour, so I'm as invested as you are on going live on time, right? I'm not invested in it taking another 6 months, right? Because I'm not getting paid any more money. And so guess what? If you're aligned with your client on the timeline and the cost, okay, then you're going to do a much better job, and you're going to be much more invested in the result. If you're paying for these sorts of projects by the hour, or there's another invoice coming or another one, you might want to just stop, pause, just take a little bit of stock now and say, okay, maybe there's a different way of doing this.
And is that an alarm bell? If you go to a company that does ERP work by the hour, that's going to be a problem too?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. That's the first question to ask, I would say, of your potential partner that you're going to work with is, are you willing to work with me on a fixed price, fixed timeline basis, right? And if the answer to that is no, run a mile, okay? Because it means they don't have confidence in their process. They don't have confidence in their mechanism to get things done, right? Now, we do a lot of prep work to make sure that we can, in fact, do fixed timeline and fixed costs for our clients, okay? But we've done this so many times now that we've seen this movie before, right? In a lot of cases, and we know how to solve it. And as long as the client is willing to move and bend and adjust their business processes to the way that we're suggesting, then those fixed timeline, fixed budgets are absolutely the way to go. And if your partner is not willing to work with you on that basis, then you need to run a mile.
So, Nick, let's jump ahead to the other side of this of your work, to the world of ROI.
Yeah.
Is there real ROI in terms of solving these problems and so on? What's the impact on the company? Are they more productive? What happens?
Yeah, so we see a couple of things. One of the things is more productive and more efficient. So, and that simply comes through, access to data. Okay, I'd be surprised that just having access to the right data at the right time enables you to make better decisions. So whether that's better decisions around, purchasing, so I can purchase less, okay, or I can purchase more frequently, or I can take advantage of maybe buying more, right, and taking advantage of some better forecasting and using products more effectively in my production process. Sometimes it's about scheduling. So how can I schedule my manufacturing a lot better to get more efficiency out of my lines, right? It could be more efficiency just around using hardware, for example. A lot of the companies that we work with still don't have barcode scanning, for example, in their warehouse, right? Just simple examples of that for a lot of companies. I was with a company just the other week, in fact, up in North Carolina, who didn't have a handheld scanner, at receiving. Okay, and they were there with a fixed, workstation there, and we're trying to do it on that fixed work. And it was really interesting watching the operator doing it. It actually took 3 operators to manage this entire process. And we simply gave them a handheld scanner and said, hey, just try this, okay? See what you think, right? And they didn't want to give it back. The operator was like, oh, I'm keeping this. This is night and day. And you could clearly see the efficiency right away where, one of the 3 people was then just standing there and didn't have anything to do, okay? Because actually it was a hell of a lot efficient. Now, and that's a real simple example, and it's a very simple solution. But a lot of the time, a lot of companies kind of overlook that sort of stuff. It's all about the big stuff, the big goals, the big ideas, right? The big implementation, the $100,000 project. But sometimes it's just investing $700 in a handheld scanner can make the entire difference to your workflow. And it doesn't have to be about the big stuff. And it's one of the advantages, I would say, that we have over a lot of our so-called competitors, is that we spend a lot of time on site with our clients. So we spend a lot of time looking at the operation, doing some Gemba, right, from my lean days, and actually going to where the work is happening and observing, and then helping the client to see what we see, and giving them the tools and accessibility to tools and processes that, they maybe didn't think were in their league or applicable to them.
So Nick, after the revolution, after you've come and gone, you've implemented a great new system. Everything now makes sense. I bet there can be backsliding.
And in fact, Doug, there will always be backsliding. And the reality is that any business process has a half-life. Okay, that's what we refer to it as. And, whether it's 6 months, 3 months, a year, it doesn't matter what it is. Every process has a half-life. And it's really important that you don't just, think you implemented something a year ago and then suddenly it's going to be there forever, right? So we always talk about mechanisms here at Silverdale. It's an idea, a concept that we borrowed from Amazon, but I think we've kind of taken it to the next level. So when we talk about mechanisms, we talk about process, tools, adoption, and audit. And without those 4 things being in place, don't be surprised that your project or your process, whatever it might be, is taking a back seat all of a sudden. So you start with the process, make sure you can define everything from end to end. If you can't explain it from A to B and the steps in between, then you don't have a process. Okay. Then you need a tool that enforces the process. Okay. So do you have a tool that makes the associate, whoever it is, follow the correct process, and does it stop them from doing the wrong things? So help you to do the right things and stop you from doing the wrong things. That's what your tool is there for. Okay. And then you focus on adoption. Okay. So now you've got a process and a tool. Now you need adoption. You need people to be trained, They need the access to the right tools. Okay, they need to know the reason behind the change and need that buy-in to the change. So that's all about the adoption side. And then the fourth thing you need is an audit. So how are you going to make sure that this thing sticks? Okay, so what metrics, dashboards, reporting, whatever it might be, that tells you that the process and the tool is still being adopted and followed and still having the result that you expect. So when we look at these things, it's very frequent that we see that there is no audit mechanism, right? Part of the mechanism, it means that, hey, don't be surprised that the thing you spent a lot of time, effort, money, blood, sweat, and tears on is no longer happening.
Well, Nick, this has really been informative. It's been a nice introduction to this process and some fresh thinking, I think, about, not just the need to do this, how it happens, but also finally to make sure that after it occurs, you're really getting the impact that you're hoping for, which may not always happen. So, Nick, where can we learn more?
So people can find us at silverdale.us. That's our website. You can find us across all the socials at Silverdale Tech.
Well, Nick, again, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm looking forward to the next podcast. There's some topics here that we can do a whole 30-minute segment on. But for now, thanks very much.
Thank you, Doug. It's been fun.